Owen's time travel odyssey in ancient Nigeria, 1200 AD. What if you woke up 800 years in the past, in a world where no one can read? Survival hangs by a thread, and your modern knowledge is both your greatest weapon and your deadliest curse. Meet Owen Carter, a 28-year-old American teacher from Boston, who stumbles through a cosmic glitch into the heart of ancient Nigeria, 1200 AD. How will a man armed with nothing but a chalkboard heart and 21st century smarts survive a land ruled by superstition and iron-fisted chiefs? Stick around, because in this wild, pulse-pounding tale, you'll discover how Owens, what sparks a revolution, faces a king's impossible challenge, and uncovers a secret that could rewrite time itself. Buckle up. This journey will leave you questioning what you'd do in his shoes. The air shimmered like a mirage over a desert highway, and Owen Carter, a lanky, bespectacled middle school teacher from Boston, felt the world tilt. One moment, he was grading papers in his cramped apartment, the Red Sox game droning in the background, a half-eaten pizza slice on his desk. The next, a blinding flash swallowed him whole, as if the universe had hit the rewind button. When his vision cleared, he was sprawled in the dirt, the scent of wood smoke and damp earth choking his lungs. Towering palms loomed overhead, their fronds swaying in a breeze that carried distant drumbeats. This wasn't Massachusetts. This wasn't 2025. Owen scrambled to his feet, heart hammering, his Red Sox cap still inexplicably perched on his head. His phone useless, no signal, clutched in his hand, was the only tether to the life he knew. Around him, mud brick huts dotted a sprawling village, their thatched roofs glowing under a merciless sun. Dark-skinned children, barefooted and wide-eyed, stared at him from behind woven baskets, whispering in a language he couldn't place. A woman with intricate beads in her hair froze mid-step, her clay pot nearly slipping from her hands as she gawked at his sneakers, his jeans, his existence. "Where am I?" Owen muttered, his voice cracking. A grizzled man with a spear, clad in a loincloth and a scowl, barked something sharp and guttural, pointing the weapon at Owen's chest. Panic surged, but Owen raised his hands, stammering. "Whoa, whoa. I'm not here to. Look, I'm just a teacher." The word teacher meant nothing here, he realized, as the spearman's eyes narrowed. This was Nigeria, 1200 AD, though Owen wouldn't learn that until later, when a traveling bard, half drunk on palm wine, pieced together the year from tales of a rising Owo kingdom. The village, nestled along a riverbank teeming with fish, was called Ipel, a place where literacy was as foreign as Owen's iPhone. Here, knowledge was oral, passed through songs and stories under starlit skies. Children grew up wielding hoes, not pens, their futures bound to fields or fishing nets. Development, as Owen knew it, schools, libraries, the hum of progress, was a distant dream, stifled by tradition and a ruling class that saw no need for change. Owen's first night was a sleepless blur, spent huddled under a borrowed goatskin in a leaky lean-to. The villagers, wary but curious, hadn't killed him yet. They called him Oyinbo, a term for his pale skin, though their whispers held equal parts fear and fascination. By dawn, he'd made a decision. If he was stuck here, he'd do what he did best, teach. But how do you teach reading in a world without books? How do you spark curiosity in minds shaped by survival, not scholarship? And why, deep in his gut, did he feel this wasn't an accident, that something, or someone, had pulled him across time for a reason? His first ally was a girl named Amara, a wiry 12-year-old with a grin that could light up Boston Harbor. She'd crept close that morning, offering him a yam as if testing his humanity. "You talk funny," she said. Her English is strange, ancient dialect Owen somehow understood, as if the time slip had rewired his brain. "What's that?" She pointed at his phone, its dead screen reflecting her curious eyes. Owen chuckled, pocketing it. A magic box that doesn't work anymore. Amara's laugh was infectious, and in that moment, Owen saw his path. He'd start with her. He began teaching Amara letters in the dirt, using sticks as pencils. She was quick, soaking up the alphabet like a sponge. Soon, other children gathered, drawn by her excitement. Owen turned lessons into games, singing the ABCs to a rhythm he borrowed from the village drummers. A is for apple, B is for boat, he'd chant, and the kids would clap, giggling at his clumsy attempts to mimic their dances. He called his patch of cleared earth a mobile classroom, a joke that sent the children into hysterics, imagining their huts rolling like wagons. Word spread, and soon, parents peeked from doorways, torn between suspicion and awe as their children scratched symbols in the dirt. But not everyone was charmed. The village chief, a towering man named Owen, watched Owen with eyes like storm clouds. Literacy to him was a threat, a spark that could ignite rebellion against the old ways. His advisors, a council of grizzled elders, muttered of spirits and curses, convinced Owen was a sorcerer dropped from the sky. No good comes from Owenbo's marks, one elder hissed, clutching a staff adorned with cowrie shells. Owen felt the tension rising, like a noose tightening. He was an outsider, tolerated only as long as he didn't disrupt the fragile order of Ipel. Yet, every night, as he lay under the stars, Owen's mind raced with questions. How had he crossed centuries? Was it a freak accident? Or was there a purpose buried in this chaos? The villagers spoke of a sacred grove, a place where time bends under the gaze of ancient gods. Could that hold the key to his journey? And why did Amara, with her uncanny knack for learning, feel like the heart of this mystery? As the days passed, Owen's lessons grew bolder, his mobile classroom swelling with eager faces. But the chief's shadow loomed larger, and Owen knew his time to prove himself, or lose everything, was running out. This is just the beginning of Owen's saga, a tale where one man's knowledge battles a world of doubt. In the chapters ahead, you'll see him face a king's impossible demand, outwit cunning enemies, and uncover a secret that could change history, or trap him forever. Will Owen's modern mind triumph, or will the past swallow him whole? Dive into this thrilling clash of eras, where every lesson is a rebellion, and every word a step toward destiny. Stick with us. You won't believe where this story leads. Owen Carter was no stranger to tough crowds. Back in Boston, he'd faced classrooms of skeptical teens, their eyes glued to TikTok instead of textbooks. But here in Ipel, Nigeria, 1200 AD, the stakes were higher than a few failing grades. His makeshift classroom, a patch of packed earth beneath a sprawling baobab tree, had grown from a handful of curious kids to a buzzing hive of 24, their laughter echoing as they traced letters with sticks. Amara, the quick-witted 12-year-old who'd become his star pupil, led the charge, her voice ringing out as she taught others the alphabet song Owen had crafted to the rhythm of village drums. A is for apple, B is for boat, C is for courage. She'd sing, her eyes sparkling with pride. The children called it Owen's magic, and to them it was a gift from the strange Owenbo who'd fallen from the sky. But magic, Owen learned, was a double-edged sword in Ipel. The village pulsed with life, women weaving baskets, men carving spears, the air thick with the scent of roasted yams and fish. But beneath it ran a current of fear. Superstition ruled here, woven into every ritual, every whispered tale of gods and spirits. To the elders, Owen's lessons weren't just odd, they were dangerous. Writing, they believed, could trap a man's soul in symbols, or worse, anger the ancestors who guarded Ipel's traditions. The village chief, Owen, a mountain of a man with a voice like rolling thunder, had tolerated Owen's presence as a curiosity. But tolerance was wearing thin. It started with whispers. Owen caught them at the market, where traders swapped rumors as freely as cowrie shells. The Owenbo teaches forbidden things, one woman muttered, clutching her beads. He calls mud a classroom. What next? Teaching fish to fly. The elders' council, a grim assembly of men draped in animal hides, began to circle. Their leader, a wiry priest named Kola, was the worst, a man with eyes like polished obsidian and a knack for twisting words into warnings. The gods sent him to test us, Kola declared at a village gathering, his staff jangling with shells. His marks in the dirt are a curse. If we let him continue, the rains will fail, the river will dry. The crowd stirred, uneasy, and Owen, standing at the edge, felt a chill that had nothing to do with the evening breeze. Undeterred, Owen doubled down. If he was going to survive this, he needed allies, and fast. He leaned into his charm, the same disarming grin that had won over surly middle schoolers. He started inviting parents to watch his lessons, turning the mobile classroom into a spectacle. He'd joke. Back in my village, far away. We call this a school, but I like your style better. No walls, just sky. The parents laughed, hesitant at first, but soon they brought yams and smoked fish as thanks. Amara's mother, a weaver named Saad, became his biggest supporter, her calloused hands clapping as her daughter read simple words scratched on a slab of bark. She sees the world in those lines, Saad said, her voice soft with wonder. Owen's heart swelled. This was why he taught. But the elders weren't swayed. One sweltering afternoon, as Owen taught the kids to spell river by drawing in the damp bank, Kola and two spearmen appeared. The priest's shadow fell across the lesson like a storm cloud. Oyenbo, he hissed, you mock our ways. These marks you make, they steal the children's spirits. The kids froze, clutching their sticks. Amara stepped forward, defiant, but Owen waved her back, his pulse racing. They're just letters, he said, keeping his voice steady. They give knowledge, not curses. Kola's lip curled. Knowledge is for chiefs and priests, not children. Cease this, or the gods will judge you. He turned to the spearman. Destroy it. Before Owen could react, the men kicked over his carefully drawn letters, scattering the dirt. The children gasped, some crying, as Amara clutched Owen's arm. They're scared of you, she whispered. They don't understand. Owen's jaw tightened. Scared or not, the elders had drawn a line, and he was on the wrong side of it. That night, under a moon so bright it turned the village silver, Owen sat with Amara by the river, plotting his next move. His phone, now a useless relic, lay beside him, its cracked screen reflecting the stars. Back home, he told her, we have libraries, houses full of words. They make people strong, not weak. Amara's eyes widened. Houses of words. I want that. Her hunger for learning was a fire, and Owen vowed to keep it burning. But how? The elder's threat hung heavy, and he knew Obaik's patience was a fraying rope. His answer came at dawn, in the form of a boy named Tund, a scrawny 10-year-old who'd been sneaking to lessons despite his father's beatings. Tund arrived breathless, his eyes wide with news. The chief's son, Prince Ade, he wants to meet you. He saw us singing. He says you're different. Owen's stomach flipped. The prince, barely 14, was Eek's pride, groomed to lead Ipel one day. If Owen could win him over, it might tip the scales. The meeting was set in the chief's compound, a sprawling maze of mud walls and woven mats. Owen, in his faded jeans and red socks cap, felt like a time traveler on trial. Prince Ade was lanky, with a quick smile and sharper eyes, his royal beads clinking as he studied Owen. You teach my people to make marks, Ade said, curious but guarded. Why? Owen took a breath, channeling every teacher's pep talk he'd ever given. Words are power, Prince. They let you hold 1,000 stories in your head, plan 100 battles, dream a new world. Where I come from, everyone reads, even kids. Ade's brow furrowed, intrigued. Show me. For hours, Owen taught Ade the basics, using charcoal on a flat stone. The prince was a natural, laughing as he scrawled his name. This is like carving a spear, he said, but sharper. Owen grinned, sensing a crack in the wall of resistance. But as they worked, Kola burst in, his face a mask of fury. Blasphemy, he roared. The prince is sacred, not for your sorcery. Before Owen could argue, Obaik stormed in, his presence silencing the room. Oyenbo, he growled, you've gone too far. My son is no pupil for your tricks. Owen's heart pounded, but he stood tall. Your son's learning, Oba. He's strong enough to rule with knowledge, not just fear. The words hung in the air, bold and dangerous. Eek's eyes narrowed, but Ade stepped forward. Father, let him teach me. I want this. The chief hesitated, torn between tradition and his son's plea. Finally, he spoke. One chance, Oyenbo. But if you fail, you'll wish the gods had never sent you here. The next day, disaster struck. Kola, enraged by Owen's defiance, rallied the elders to ban his lessons outright. They stormed the baobab tree, trampling the mobile classroom and scattering the children. Amara's bark tablets were crushed, her eyes brimming with tears. They hate us, she whispered. Owen knelt beside her, his own anger simmering. They're scared, Amara. But we're not done. He knew he was walking a tightrope. One misstep, and he'd lose everything. Then came the bombshell. A messenger arrived, breathless, with a summons from Obaik. The chief had a new demand, one that turned Owen's blood cold. Teach Prince Ade to read fluently in 3 days, enough to compete in a regional wisdom contest against rival chief sons, where riddles and oral histories were weapons. If Ade succeeded, Owen would be spared. If he failed, exile awaited, or worse, a ritual sacrifice to appease the gods. The contest was a public stage, watched by hundreds, where Ipel's honor hung in the balance. Owen's modern tricks would face their ultimate test. As the sun set, Owen stood by the river, Amara at his side, her small hand in his. "You can do this," she said, her voice fierce. But doubt gnawed at him. 3 days to teach a boy to read under a king's threat? Back in Boston, he'd have months, books, apps. Here, he had sticks, dirt, and a ticking clock. And somewhere, in the whispers of the sacred grove, a secret about his time slip lingered, a truth that could save or doom him. The drums of Ipel beat louder, as if counting down to his fate. Owen's fight is just heating up. With a king's wrath, a priest's schemes, and a child's hope on his shoulders, he's racing against time to turn words into weapons. Will he outsmart his enemies and make a prince shine? Or will Ipel's traditions crush his dreams? The next chapter brings a heart-stopping climax, where Owen faces an impossible challenge, a betrayal that cuts deep, and a glimpse into the mystery of his time travel. Dive into this electrifying saga. Every twist will leave you hungry for more. The air in Ipel crackled with tension, like the moment before a thunderstorm breaks. Owen Carter, sweat-soaked and sleepless, stood in the shade of the baobab tree, his makeshift classroom now a crucible for his survival. 3 days. That's all Obaik, the towering chief of Ipel, had given him to teach Prince Ade to read fluently, enough to outshine rival chief sons in a regional wisdom contest, where riddles, histories, and now, thanks to Owen's influence, written words would decide Ipel's pride. Success meant acceptance. Failure meant exile, or worse, a ritual sacrifice to appease the gods. Owen's heart pounded as he scratched letters into the dirt, his red socks cap tilted back, his eyes burning with determination. He wasn't just teaching a prince, he was fighting for his life. Prince Ade, 14 and wiry, with a mind as sharp as the beads on his royal tunic, was Owen's best hope. The boy had taken to reading like a fish to water, his charcoal-scrawled letters on bark growing steadier each day. "This says Ade is strong," he declared, holding up a slab with a grin. Owen clapped him on the shoulder, his Boston accent thick with pride. "Damn right, kid. You're going to make them eat their words." But the clock was merciless. By nightfall, only 2 days remained, and Ade's reading was still halting, nowhere near ready for the contest's oral and written challenges. Owen needed a miracle. Amara, his fierce 12-year-old ally, was his secret weapon. She'd taken to sneaking into the chief's compound at dusk, smuggling bark tablets to Ade for extra practice. "You're crazy, Amara," Owen whispered one night, catching her slipping through the shadows. She smirked, her eyes glinting. "You're the crazy one, Oyenbo, teaching us to fight with words." Her courage fueled him, but it also drew eyes. Kola, the priest with a vendetta, had spies everywhere, and his whispers of Owen's sorcery grew louder. The elders' council, once merely suspicious, now openly called for his banishment, their voices rising at every village meeting. "The Oyenbo defile our ways." Kola thundered, his staff jangling. "His marks will bring famine." The crowd stirred, fear rippling through them like a plague. Owen pushed harder, turning lessons into a high-stakes game. He crafted a story about a hero named Boston, a warrior who used words to outwit monsters, and had Ade read it aloud to the other children. The kids cheered, but Owen's stomach churned. Kola's spies lurked, and he caught their glares from the edges of his lessons. Worse, rumor swirled of a rival chief, Obatund of a neighboring village, who'd heard of Owen's teachings and planned to humiliate Ipel by exposing Ade's foreign tricks at the contest. The pressure was suffocating, but Owen leaned into it, his teacher's instinct kicking in. "We're not just learning to read. he told Ade. We're showing them what's possible. Day 2 brought a gut punch, as Owen drilled Ade on riddles, simple ones written on bark, to blend reading with the contest's oral tradition. Kola struck. A group of spearmen stormed the classroom, led by the priest himself. Enough! Kola roared, snatching Ade's tablet and smashing it to the ground. The children scattered, screaming, as Amara stood her ground, fists clenched. Owen stepped forward, his voice steady despite the spear tips glinting inches from his chest. You're scared of a kid reading, Kola? That's your weakness, not mine. The priest's eyes blazed, but before he could act, Obaik appeared, his presence silencing the chaos. Oyenbo, he said, his voice low and dangerous. You test my patience. 1 day left. Prove your worth, or the gods will have you. That night, betrayal cut deeper than any spear. Tund, the scrawny boy who'd first brought Owen to Ade, confessed tearfully by the river. Kola made me spy on you. He choked out. He said he'd curse my family if I didn't tell him your plans. Owen's heart sank. Kola had known every move, every lesson, every riddle. The priest was sabotaging Ade's preparation, feeding doubts to the elders, and planting traps for the contest. Rage flared, but Owen knelt beside Tund, his voice soft. You're not the enemy, kid. Help me fix this. Tund nodded, wiping his eyes, and Owen hatched a desperate plan. The final day dawned, the contest looming like a tidal wave. Owen and Ade worked feverishly, practicing riddles and reading under the baobab. Owen simplified the material, focusing on key words Ade could recognize instantly. Strength, honor, Ipel. Amara rallied the other children, turning their fear into defiance. We'll cheer for Ade, she vowed, her voice fierce. But Kola's shadow grew darker. He'd convinced Obaik to add a twist. Ade must read a sacred text aloud. One Kola would provide at the contest, a text no one had seen. Owen's blood ran cold. It was a trap, designed to make Ade falter and prove Owen's teachings useless. The contest arrived in a blaze of drums and color. Hundreds gathered in a clearing, chiefs from across the region seated on carved stools, their warriors bristling with spears. The air hummed with anticipation as rival princes recited histories and solved riddles, their voices soaring. Ade, in his royal beads, stood tall but nervous, his eyes darting to Owen. Kola stepped forward, presenting a clay tablet etched with symbols, a mix of local script and Owen's alphabet, a deliberate sabotage to confuse Ade. Read, Prince, Kola sneered, or shame your father. The crowd hushed. Owen's heart thundered as Ade took the tablet, his hands trembling. The boy's lips moved, piecing together the words. Ipel is strong, he began, haltingly. The crowd murmured, impressed but skeptical. Then a miracle. Ade's voice steadied, his training kicking in. The river flows, the people rise, he read, his tone growing bold. Owen had taught him to blend reading with the cadence of oral storytelling, and it worked. The crowd roared, even as Kola's face darkened. Ade answered riddles next, his reading giving him an edge as he decoded written clues, faster than his rivals. Obaik's stern face softened, pride flickering in his eyes. But Kola wasn't done. As Ade finished, the priest leapt up, accusing Owen of sorcery. He cheats the gods. Kola shouted, pointing at the tablet. These marks are not ours. The crowd wavered, fear creeping in. Owen stepped forward, his voice cutting through the chaos. They're not sorcery, they're power. Ade, read your trap in one. You're not protecting Ipel, Kola. You're holding it back. The words hung heavy, and for a moment, silence reigned. Then Ade spoke, his young voice clear. Father, Owen's way is our future. Obaik rose, his gaze sweeping the crowd, then settling on Owen. The Oyenbo has proven his worth, he declared. Ade has honored Ipel. The crowd erupted, children chanting Ade's name, Amara's grin lighting up the clearing. Kola slunk back, defeated but still dangerous, his eyes promising vengeance. Owen exhaled, relief flooding him, but a new weight settled in his chest. As the celebration began, Amara tugged his sleeve, whispering, The grove, Owen. Tund heard Kola talk of a time stone there. It's why you came. The words hit like lightning. Was the sacred grove the key to his time slip? Could it send him home, or trap him forever? Owen's triumph is only half the story. With Cola's defeat, a new mystery beckons, the secret of the time stone. Will Owen risk everything to uncover it, or stay to build Eipel's future? Victory tastes sweet, but what if it comes with a secret that could unravel time itself? Owen Carter, the Boston teacher stranded in 1200 AD Nigeria, has just turned a prince into a reader and silenced a scheming priest, earning his place in the village of Eipel. But whispers of a mysterious time stone in a sacred grove hint that his journey across centuries was no accident. Will Owen risk everything to uncover the truth behind his time slip, or stay to shape a new future for Eipel? This final chapter is a heart-pounding plunge into danger, desire, and destiny, with a twist that will leave you desperate for the next tale. Stick around, because what Owen finds in the grove will spark a mystery you won't stop thinking about. Want more? The next chapter awaits on our channel, where secrets unravel and time bends in ways you'll never expect. The drums of Eipel thundered through the night, their rhythm a heartbeat celebrating Prince Aid's triumph at the wisdom contest. The village glowed with firelight, men and women dancing, their laughter mingling with the scent of roasted yams and palm wine. Owen Carter, the improbable hero from Boston, stood at the edge of the celebration, his red socks cap tilted back, a weary smile on his face. He'd done the impossible. In 3 days, he taught a 14-year-old prince to read well enough to outshine rival heirs, saving himself from exile and proving the power of his mobile classroom. Owen, the towering chief, had declared him a friend of Eipel, even offering him a title, advisor of words, a role that made the children cheer and the elders scowl. Amara, his fierce young ally, danced nearby, her grin brighter than the moon, chanting, Oyinbo, Oyinbo, as if he were a legend. But beneath the joy, a current of unease tugged at Owen's heart. The victory felt too fragile, like a sandcastle before a wave. Cola, the priest who'd nearly destroyed him, had slunk into the shadows after Aid's win, but his venomous glare promised trouble. More troubling was Amara's whispered revelation by the river, a time stone hidden in the sacred grove, a place the villagers feared as the domain of gods and spirits. Tund, the boy who betrayed Owen under Cola's threats, had overheard the priest muttering about it, a relic that could bend time and explain why Owen had been ripped from 2025 to this ancient world. The words echoed in his mind as he watched the dancers, their silhouettes flickering like ghosts. Was the stone his ticket home, or a trap set by forces he couldn't comprehend? The celebration reached a fever pitch, and Owen summoned Owen to his side, his massive hand clapping Owen's shoulder. "You've brought honor to Eipel," he rumbled, his eyes gleaming with rare warmth. "Stay, advisor. Build your house of words." The offer was a dream, stability, purpose, a chance to transform Eipel with literacy. Amara's mother, Saad, pressed a woven bracelet into his hand, her smile soft. "You've given my daughter a future," she said. Owen's throat tightened. Back in Boston, his life had been a grind of lesson plans and unpaid bills. Here, he was changing lives, maybe history itself. But the grove's secret called to him, a siren song of answers and danger. That night, unable to sleep, Owen slipped out of the village, his sneakers silent on the packed earth. The sacred grove loomed a mile away, its gnarled trees silhouetted against a star-strewn sky. Amara, ever his shadow, caught up, her eyes wide with defiance. "You're going to the grove, aren't you?" she whispered. Owen sighed, knowing he couldn't stop her. "Stay close," he said, his voice low. "And if I tell you to run, you run." She nodded, clutching a stick like a weapon, her courage both a comfort and a weight. The grove was a world apart, its air thick with the scent of moss and something older primal. Twisted roots coiled like snakes, and the silence was heavy, broken only by distant owl hoots. Owen's phone, long dead, felt like a brick in his pocket, a reminder of the life he'd lost. As they crept deeper, a faint glow pulsed ahead, blue and unnatural, like a glitch in reality. Amara gasped, pointing to a clearing where a smooth, obsidian-like stone stood, no taller than a man, its surface etched with symbols that shimmered faintly. Owen's breath caught. The symbols weren't the local script. They looked like circuits or code, impossibly advanced for 1200 AD. What the hell, he muttered, his teacher's logic warring with awe. Before he could approach, a rustle broke the silence. Kola emerged from the shadows, his staff gleaming with shells, 2 spearmen at his side. "You cannot resist the god's will, Oyenbo," he hissed, his voice dripping with triumph. "The stone brought you, and it will end you." Owen's heart raced. Kola knew about the time slip. The priest's eyes glinted with fanaticism. "The stone guards Ipel's fate. You've poisoned our ways, and now you'll pay." Amara gripped Owen's arm, but he stepped forward, his voice steady despite the spears. "If the stone brought me, maybe it's you who's defying the gods, Kola." The priest laughed, cold and sharp, raising his staff as if to signal an attack. But then a new voice cut through, a woman's, low and resonant. "Enough!" From the trees stepped an elder woman, her hair braided with beads, her eyes ancient and knowing. The villagers called her Mama Yemi, a healer who spoke to spirits. Even Kola froze, his spearmen lowering their weapons. "The stone chose the Oyenbo," she said, her gaze locking on Owen. "It is not for you to judge, Kola." The priest sputtered, but Mama Yemi raised a hand, silencing him. She turned to Owen, her voice soft but commanding. "Touch the stone, teacher. See its truth." Owen's pulse thundered as he approached the stone, Amara at his side, her small hand steadying him. The symbols pulsed faster, their glow warm under his fingers. The moment he touched it, a jolt shot through him, images flashing in his mind, Boston's skyline, his apartment, then Ipel's future, children reading, villages thriving. But darker visions followed, war chaos, a world where his changes rippled too far. The stone was a bridge, a machine of time, but its purpose was unclear. Was it a gift or a curse? As the visions faded, Owen staggered back, gasping. Mama Yemi's eyes held his. "You've seen the road," she said. "Will you walk it?" Kola lunged, his staff swinging, but Amara, quick as lightning, tripped him with her stick, sending him sprawling. The spearman hesitated, caught between loyalty and Mama Yemi's authority. "Go," she told Owen, her voice urgent. "The stone's secret is yours now, but Kola will not rest." Owen grabbed Amara's hand, pulling her back toward the village as Kola's curses echoed behind them. The grove's glow faded, but its mystery burned in Owen's chest. He could stay, build Ipel's future, teach a generation to read. Or he could chase the stone's truth, risk everything to find a way home, or to someone else. Back in Ipel, dawn broke, the village stirring with whispers of the grove's disturbance. Obeik summoned Owen, his face grim. "You've stirred the gods, Oyenbo. What did you find?" Owen hesitated, the weight of his choice crushing him. Tell the truth and risk Kola's wrath? Stay silent and lose his chance to understand the stone? Amara squeezed his hand, her eyes fierce. "You're our teacher," she whispered. "You decide." Owen looked at her, then at the village, his classroom, his home, maybe his destiny. But the stone's glow lingered in his mind, a question mark across time. Owen stands at a crossroads. Stay and shape a new world, or chase a secret that could rewrite time itself. What is the time stone? And who, or what, sent him here? Will Kola's vengeance strike, or will Mama Yemi's wisdom guide him? This open ending is just the beginning. Head to our channel for the next chapter, where Owen's choice sparks a saga of danger, discovery, and a twist that will flip everything you thought you knew. Don't miss it. The future and the past are waiting.